A lot of people were telling me, what has this guy actually done? I want to point people to one game in specific from last year for you to go and watch. Go back and watch the game in Cameron that we played against Duke, and you tell me whether or not you think Seventh Woods has any sort of impact on that game. I mean, without him, I don't know if we win that game, because there were moments where you could just tell, with it being the first time that Kobe White was playing in that sort of environment, it was affecting him a little bit. Seventh Woods was able to come in, slow down the pace of the game, did a really good job of taking care of the basketball, something that he did struggle with at other times throughout the year. But in that game in particular, he did a fantastic job of that. And, I thought he had some other moments throughout the year where he played pretty well. I mean, again, you have to sort of look at what his role was. Some people said, well, he didn't have any role on the team. He never played. Played 10 minutes a game. I mean, that's a lot in a college basketball game. That's a fourth of the game. I mean, how is that not a big portion of the basketball game? How is he not a significant player? And it's like you said, a lot of people said, well, we got plenty of depth there. Okay, well, we talked about on this podcast that one of the guys that we're bringing in is probably not going to play his freshman year. Jeremiah Francis is more than likely going to sit out his freshman year and rehab from a knee injury. And I don't know if people were getting this mixed up or what. Apparently, Anthony Harris also has an injury or something that he's working through as well.
He actually tore his ACL in December.
So that's two point guards that are coming off ACL injuries. The same injury that Seventh Woods had when he entered Carolina. And we all see how that worked out. He was never really the same. Now, I'm not saying that that's what's going to end up happening with either one of those guys. But you've got a guy that is more than likely going to have to play some significant minutes in Anthony Harris, coming off an ACL injury, and a guy in Jeremiah Francis who likely won't play because of a knee injury. And then you have Cole Anthony. And look, I understand. Somebody said, well, if you don't think that Cole Anthony is going to transcend what this team does. Look, I understand that. Okay, this kid's the number 2 player in the class. He's pretty much as legit as they come if you've watched his tape. This kid is going to be ridiculously good. But it is going to take a little bit of time. Some of those early season games, like one that you got to, what happens when we go to the Battle for Atlantis, of Atlantis? I'm not sure which one it is.
It's for Atlantis.
But what happens when you go, if anybody doesn't know, if you haven't checked out what that tournament looks like, that tournament's going to be ridiculously tough. So what happens when we get to that tournament and you have those moments where Cole Anthony's struggling a little bit? Who do you turn to?
Yeah.
And everybody says, well, it's easy. Turn to Leaky Black. Okay, you can turn to Leaky Black. Who is playing the 3 spot when Leaky Black is at the point guard spot? Leaky's going to have to play a very significant amount of time at the 3 spot this season. I mean, it's just, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Right now, it's lining up to where he is going to be the guy there, unless you truly believe that you can put Pierce, or I'm trying to think who else. I guess some people wanted to say Brandon Robinson, but Brandon Robinson doesn't have the size to play the 3. He's 6'3", 6'4"?
He's also thin in frame.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of repercussions to Seventh Woods leaving. He finally niched out a role on this team in his 3rd year.
That's what I said.
Which was a guy that, was going to come in, and it was really all he was ever asked to do once he got on campus, because you got to think, when he got there, Joel Berry was established. It was Joel's team. But all he was asked to do was don't turn it over and give us good defensive minutes.
Mm-hmm.
The problem was we never got it consistently enough. But like you said, Really big effort from him in the Duke game in Cameron Indoor because Kobe struggled with the pressure that Trey Jones put on the ball, whereas Seventh Woods, because he's been in that environment 3 years, he's been at this level 3 years, understood just what to do. Was really big in the home win against Gonzaga, scored I think 11 or 13 in the first half, and that was the team's really first big win of the year. So that's where I think it's just how do you replace that, because now you're replacing that with inexperience. Whether it is Leaky, he's still in all regards a freshman because he missed so much of the ACC season, and we're not going to count the non-conference as, well, he learned a whole lot. He learned, but not what you learned during the conference season.
Exactly.
And that's where the worry is going to come. It's like you said. Whenever that time comes that Cole Anthony struggles, and folks, he's going to struggle. He's a freshman point guard in Roy Williams' system. There's never been... It doesn't
even need to be a freshman point guard in Roy Williams. It's a freshman point guard. There are going to be moments where they struggle. It happens everywhere. I don't know if people know this. Look at the freshman point guards from last year. Trey Jones had moments where he struggled at Duke. They didn't have anybody to go to.
So bad he had to return to school. So
yeah, and they didn't have anybody to go to, and you saw that in big games. That's where the concern is right now. I'm not saying, and people, I saw, these guys must be the headliners of the Seventh Woods fan club. Not even close. Okay, there are a lot of people that have gotten on us for some criticism of Seventh. But it's really, and again, we're not the guys that are out here saying, we could do that better. No. We're saying just, he has had his struggles, and there were moments where, we said, okay, you got to hit shots like that, stuff like that. But at the same time, we can still be of the opinion that this guy is like you said, had found his role in this offense and was really starting to settle into it. The other thing that I want people to realize, he has to go through all the offseason program and everything that all of the other freshmen are going to have to go through. He was going to get better for his senior year. He wasn't going to be the same player that he was last year. So, I don't understand how people are just passing this off as, we don't need him anyways. He never did anything for us. That's just... First of all, it's not true. And second of all, if you think that experience doesn't matter at point guard, especially when you get to the tournament, I don't know how to help you. There's no way that we can help you because it does matter. Point guard, we have talked about this time and time again when it comes to tournament time. Just guards in general, but especially the point guard spot matters during tournament time, especially if you have experienced guys there. That's what definitely helps you. Now, we're rolling with two freshmen there, more than likely. Or Leaky, who's going to be a sophomore, but like you said, pretty much a redshirt freshman. That's pretty much how we look at it. So, if you're not slightly concerned about it, I don't know. You're not in the same boat as us. That's all we can say.
Two things, and we'll move on from the Seventh Woods topic. One, clearly never was the player that he was recruited. I heard this mentioned on the Carolina Insider podcast. He was Zion before Zion in terms of his online mixtape.
Yeah.
He had 1 million views.
Thanks for clarifying that.
From what he was doing down in Columbia.
Yep.
That's how. And remember, he committed to Carolina, but we couldn't get a soul that was, outside of, Barry and those guys were good prospects, but they weren't, what people thought before the injury that he could have been a one-and-done talent. That's how good he was at one point in his career. Just didn't work out for him. And then secondly, probably my favorite moment that we got from Seventh Woods was nothing that he did. It was just the Kentucky game 2017, Roy Williams gets the technical foul, rips the jacket, and Seventh Woods is the player that benefited from Roy throwing the jacket at him.
Benefited, was ridiculed. I don't know what happened there.
So, thank you for that, Seventh, because that video is still, it pops up on Twitter when it gets cold and your girl doesn't want the jacket and all that, and you see the guy, you see Roy throwing. We'll go now to the final segment, which is Beat the Buzzer.
Welcome to Beat the Buzzer.
And in this edition of the Beat the Buzzer segment, props to my man Steve Robinson.
Coach your buns off, Steve.
Bob,
Yes.
we have our opinions about what's going to happen post Roy Williams, about who's going to be the guy that takes over this program. We know it won't be Steve, but you cannot lessen the impact this man has had on this program, what he's meant to Roy Williams. That's his best friend.
That's his right-hand guy.
In the coaching industry.
Mm-hmm. And okay, let's state this. It's Steve Robinson's not going to be the head coach, not because he's not a guy that is a good head coach. He's been a head coach before. It would make a lot of sense for him to be the guy. Age is the problem. That's the only reason why he will more than likely not be the guy. Although who knows, maybe there is a Bill Guthridge type situation where he takes over for a couple of years. If Roy doesn't, or if Roy and the athletic director, mostly Roy, doesn't feel that whoever this other guy is, Hubert, Wes Miller, you name who it is, isn't ready just yet, maybe Steve does take over for a year or two. But, you never know. No. You never know.
It won't happen. Anyway, got inducted into the Assistant Coaches Hall of Fame. Well-deserved honor. As good as an assistant coach as there is in college basketball.
Oh, yeah. I would say probably right now the best.
With Capel leaving Duke to go to Pittsburgh to be a head coach. And some other guys, like, Kansas has some quality assistants, and some other places there's just really good coaches there.
I just don't feel like they're as big a names as Steve everybody knows Steve Robinson's name.
So really just congrats off to Steve, like you said.
Congratulations,
off.
Steve, yeah.
Well-deserved honor. It's been past time. He's won 3 national championships, coached in many Final Fours. Well-deserved honor for our man Steve Robinson. And then lastly, NBA Draft Combine's coming up next week. Of course, doesn't get the notoriety the NFL Draft Combine gets for
University of Illinois, Chicago tearing it up every year.
For obvious reasons, but a really big, important week for Kobe White, who's right now a projected lottery pick to improve on that. Nazir Little, who's right now projected outside of the lottery, but with a very good week, and could move back in the lottery because he is a physical freak, and he does have to add a jump shot and be a more consistent rebounder. The thing I think can really help him move up the board is what he can do individually as a defender. Kind of has that kind of guy that if he develops a jump shot, I'm not saying he would be the next Kawhi Leonard, but their games could kind of mirror each other because Kawhi coming out didn't have a great shot, was a really good defender, and when wanting to rebound, could rebound. And then Cam Johnson, who's a guy who right now is slotted late first-round pick in the early second round. Going to late first round wouldn't be bad because chances are you're going to play, maybe the Warriors would draft you and you fit their mold. You shoot threes at a really high rate, and you're tall and long, and be a very good replacement for whenever Kevin Durant joins the Knicks this upcoming summer. That'll happen next week in Chicago, like Anthony said. There will be coverage, I know, on NBA TV, ESPN, and ESPN2 will be there.
Yep. I'm going to tell you, it is pretty interesting because the one thing that they do that I think is better than what the NFL does is they will actually simulate real game action because there are moments where they'll play pickup games. So you'll have guys that are able to showcase what they can do. I think out of the three of them, I think the person that this is the most important for is Nazir. He's got to show that he really does stand out above the rest of these guys as an athlete, and he's got to show that defensively he is that guy that you're saying. That guy that, Kawhi Leonard, that's a big-time comparison because Kawhi is head and shoulders above everybody in the NBA right now when it comes to two-way players, I think. But if he can go there and show that he is a guy that can be a problem defensively and, again, can really stand out as an athlete, maybe have a couple of moments where he's able to, show out offensively in some of these games that they play, pickup-wise, Who knows? Maybe he climbs in back inside that lottery. Could climb, back into the single digits but before we know it. But I think, the other guys, I think they're kind of locked where they're at. Like Kobe,